It has been another big week in politics, both internationally and here at home. Across the nation, we continue to deal with the fallout of the leaked draft opinion that would overturn Roe versus Wade, all while war continues to rage on in Ukraine. Let's turn now to Caroline Heldman, professor of critical theory and social justice at Occidental College, to break it all down for us. Happy Friday. Nice to see you.
Great to see you, Giselle, on a Friday morning.
The expected repeal of Roe versus Wade sending shockwaves across America. No one thought this would happen, Caroline, and here we are. President Biden looking at passing legislation to protect choice. How might that work, and does he have the votes to do it?
He does not have the votes to do it. It would require that the filibuster be abolished in the Senate, and there are not enough votes to do that. But the Democrats will be holding a vote regardless in order to show the American public who supports abortion rights and who does not.
Yeah, and Chief Justice Roberts slammed whoever leaked Justice Alito's abortion draft, calling it appalling, his words. And critics are slamming him for not having control of the high court that's already been tainted with accusations of being too politicized, discredited. Is this another blow to democracy, and how bad is this breach?
Well, this particular case is going to be the first time in U.S. history that we are rolling back a right by overturning a precedent. If you think about history, the precedents that we have overturned have been in the realm of extending rights, whether it's voting rights for people of color, abolishing slavery, abolishing separate but equal. I mean, all of these major precedents have actually expanded rights. What has happened here is the Federalist Society, which is essentially a shadow organization, has been working for 30 years to get folks to the court to overturn Roe. And in fact, the number one criteria for the candidates they chose for Donald Trump to consider was whether or not they would overturn Roe. And as someone who has been involved in this on all sides for many decades, I can tell you it's a long time in the making. A lot of people saw this coming if you knew what the folks on the religious right were doing. And it's a threat to democracy, regardless of how you feel about abortion. It's a threat to democracy when we have something like minority rule, where you have a small number of very religious people who are passing laws that run counter to what a majority of Americans want.
Yeah, 80% polled say they do prefer choice. Governor Newsom is vowing to make California a sanctuary state, Caroline, for reproductive rights. And he slammed Democrats, asking, where have you been? This is his own party, right? And he feels they didn't do enough to prevent this. How significant is this?
I think it's very significant because of the reasoning. The 14th Amendment privacy has now or will be overturned by the court, which means that same-sex marriage will be on the chopping block. It means that contraception will be on the chopping block. Even interracial marriage has been, passed, protected, supporting, using this reasoning. And so the idea that it will go back to the states means that we will essentially, I think, live in two different Americas, one where these rights are protected and one where there will be a patchwork of rights that are not protected, starting with a woman's right to abortion.
Right. All right. I do want to ask you about the war in Ukraine, obviously. Putin a pariah around much of the world for obvious reasons, but the G20 continues to invite him to attend. How is that even possible?
Well, I think this is happening because they're trying to balance the diplomatic side of things, trying to rein him in that way, as well as rein him in militarily. I think it's a full court press to try and contain Putin. As you know, the rise of authoritarianism globally is such a threat. As you know, Giselle, we've talked about Ukraine is so symbolically important that I think you'll see many strategies that will require folks to hold their nose, given the atrocities he has committed in Ukraine.
Right. I do have to ask you about the leaked phone conversation of Kevin McCarthy just really quickly. He seems to still be in good graces despite calling for the former president to be ousted by the 25th Amendment. And obviously the former president's candidate in Ohio, J.D. Vance, was able to succeed from this come-from-behind victory. What does that tell you? Is the GOP then still firmly on the Donald Trump train, despite all the stuff that's coming out in the January 6th committee?
I think they have to be. They're looking at voters. They're saying, hey, if we go against Trump, we lose elections. And Kevin McCarthy doing an about face where he condemns Donald Trump for his actions in January 6th, as well as other Republican leaders, and then completely turning and about facing around this. I think it has everything to do with winning elections.
Right. I have to ask you before I let you go, because you are an expert in gender politics. As Jen Psaki steps down, Karine Jean-Pierre, the first Black and openly LGBTQ plus woman to take the reins as White House press secretary. How groundbreaking.
It's incredible. It means that we are going to see a queer Black woman at the podium every day talking about politics, the mouthpiece for the president. As Jen Psaki put it, representation matters.
It certainly does. And the president promised to diversify the administration, and he certainly has. Caroline Heldman, have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day, and we'll see you next week.
Happy Mother's Day. Thank you, Giselle.
All the best to you, my friend. All right, don't forget, you can get all of this morning's top headlines and today's weather outlook in the Spectrum News app right here every day, every morning. Sign up for your notifications on the app to start your day with Spectrum News 1's morning briefings. We are your community connection. This is your morning on Spectrum News 1. Make it a good Friday. The weekend is here. Woohoo!